So we will continue, with lethargy and drowsiness, and then we will move on to restlessness and regret, and then the capping crown is doubt. Yeah, we may not do them in that order. Okay, but these are the rest of the three hindrances that interfere with concentration. So we will get to those. Hooray! Something that describes your own experience. Yes, we all want to know that Buddhism applies to me. So lethargy, does. Yeah. Restlessness. Yeah. Yeah, we kind of are quite skilled in all of the afflictions. Yeah. Okay, so this morning I talked a little bit about how to set up the session, starting with cleaning the room, setting up the altar, making offerings, sitting in the correct position, taking refuge and generating bodhicitta, doing the 7-limb prayer to help purify negativities and create merit, and then requesting, requesting inspiration from our teachers and from the lineage and the Buddha, and then going into the practice. So that's the first session. Now your session might be, let's say, an hour, but you don't sit down and just do 1 hour when you're as beginners, because we can barely manage like half a minute. So you maybe do 5-minute sessions, set your timer or something for 5 minutes, and then do the practice really firmly then. And then when the bell rings, just open your eyes. Don't stand up or walk around, but just open your eyes, look around for, a minute or something, and then do another session for 5 minutes, and then take another 1-minute break. So you might do this, to cover like an hour or 45 minutes, however long you decide to make the full session. And then in the subsequent sessions, usually in retreat, you either do 4 longer sessions or 6 shorter sessions. And in the subsequent ones, you don't have to clean the room and set the altar up again. Yeah, but you generate refuge and bodhicitta. Sit down, remind yourself of the instructions of what to do, and then begin. And again, here, it's recommended start with like 5 minutes, take a 1-minute break, something like that. If you hit it so that your mind is just like totally out to lunch, bonkers, then don't squeeze yourself to sit there. On the other hand, just because you get distracted once or you're bored or whatever, don't just stand up and leave either. Okay? But if your mind is just totally not cooperative, stop the session, go do something else, come back. And similarly, if your mind's really falling asleep all the time and you can't stay awake, take a break, go, go put, all these people who put things of cold water on their head or ice water, Yeah, so you can sign up to do that. And yeah, and do something to wake yourself up and then come back. Okay, so it's all of this is a process of learning how to be skillful with our own mind without going to the extreme of just indulging it because we don't want to do something, or indulging it because we love the distraction. We had a really good, you know, um, uh, fantasy going in in the morning meditation, and you don't want to stop. Um, no, so with it, you don't want to indulge your mind in something, but you don't want to come on hard and like, oh, I'm such a failure. I can't do this right. That whole story, because that is not at all helpful. Okay. Um, and then, like we talked last session, also developing this ability to just say, stop. I don't need, especially if you're caught in some kind of anxiety loop, you know, your mind, you sit down, you're trying to focus on the Buddha or on your breath, and your mind is like, oh no, my paycheck's less, and I think I'm going to get fired. If I get fired, what am I going to do with the kids? And, oh, I'm going to be living on the street. What kind of backpack should I get them before we move on to the street? You always want to go shopping and be prepared if you're going to be homeless. Um, and you're worried, 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 worried. Um, and people nowadays spend so much time in that kind of mental state, when you just read about people having so much stress, stress, worry, these things really go together. And then the mind is just, yeah. And in those times, I mean, sometimes you just have to just say to yourself, stop. I don't need to think about this now. I'm making up a horror story. Most of my previous horror stories have not come true. It's highly unlikely this one will either. Yeah. So let's just relax and not jump into the future and go on some wild trip. Okay. And so, being able to do that with your mind, because sometimes our mind can be like a whiny child. Yeah. Just, and, and, you've got to deal with your mind like like a whining child. I had a friend that she told me sometimes in the morning, she'd wake up, it was time to go sit. She wouldn't feel like sitting. And her mind was kind of like a little kid going, I don't want to. And she told me that she would talk to her mind like she would talk to a little kid. I know you don't want to do this, but we're going to go sit on the meditation cushion now, you know? And yeah, just talk, because that's really, do you guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah, you have that mental state. Yeah, so being able to identify it and then you know treat it accordingly. Mhm. But I think especially with this thing of anxiety, I mean, because I talk to so many people now, and it's just anxiety on steroids with a big glob of stress, put in. It's yeah, and it's also interesting to look at if your mind's going into anxiety a lot, how anxiety relates to stress, how it relates to worry, how it relates to fear. Yeah. And how are those four similar? How are they different? You know, what happens in your mind when your mind goes under the sway of any of those? Yeah. And then think of, how to pull yourself out of that, because who wants to spend their whole life worrying about things that probably won't happen? Mhm. And if I could put in a plug to you who are parents, as a child of parents who worried a lot, I request you, please do not worry so much about your kids. Yeah, love them, teach them well so that they can handle situations. But, don't just let your mind go to worry about what's going to happen to my kid and this and that. And I've got to protect them from this and the other thing. Uh, it's not at all helpful. And I was reading a book recently. They were talking about kind of parents now um, so anxious and worried about their kids and won't let them go outside and play. Everything has to be an arranged play date with adult supervision. You have to drive your kids to school, drive them home. They can't cross the street alone. They can't do anything alone because the world is this dangerous place. And actually, crime is down, the last few years. But what happens to a child if the parents are helicoptering all the time is the kids don't grow up and learn to deal with situations themselves, and they become quite fearful, and it's difficult for them to hear any opinions that don't agree with them. It's difficult for them to be flexible and adapt to new situations. So if a parent is quite worried, and you are acting that out, you're putting that into your kid, and um, it's not helpful for the child. Yeah. They need, kids need to know their parents love them. But, if you start feeling when you're young that you're responsible for your parents' happiness, yeah, because they're so worried about you, and you can't do anything that might make what they're worried about come true, so you're always self-censoring, and you won't do this and you won't explore that and you won't learn the other thing because if you're not successful your parents will be upset, or if you get hurt they're gonna fall apart. So um you don't want to put that into kids' minds. And if you're somebody who's a product of parents like that, then, you need to kind of uh, learn to, to have more self-confidence and learn how to take care of yourself. Yeah. And parents' job is to teach your kids, and then you have to let go and life will teach them, and they will do things and experience the result of their own actions. And as much as you love them, you can't pre-program their whole life and prevent them from having any bumps. Yeah, because bumps are part of the whole process, aren't they? Yeah. And so you want to raise kids who are resilient, who every time they meet somebody who doesn't agree with their opinions, they don't fall apart and just run and, I want to be in my bubble because when I'm in my bubble, then I feel safe. Uh, how do you live in a country with so many different kinds of people, you know? And this is every country in the world now has populations with, more than one race, mixed race people, more than one religion, people with different religions, people with different ethnic backgrounds, people with so many differences in their lives. Every country's like this, and and so we as adults, have to adjust and be interested in the world and not just, create our own little bubble, but also to teach the younger generation to, to be curious about how people who are different than them live and how they think. And I know for myself, yeah, formal education was great, but at the end, after 16 years of it, enough was enough, and I wanted to experience life and not just read books or watch videos about it. Yeah, and that's really how you learn. And I think that's uh, quite important for developing bodhicitta too, to learn about different kinds of people and how they think and why they think that way and their cultures and so on and so forth. Mhm. But I think maybe what you're seeing too, you might say, why is she talking about raising kids and the state of society and people being all stressed out? We came here to hear Buddhism. What's she talking about that stuff for? We know that. Yeah. Well, because I feel that our spiritual practice applies to every aspect of our life. Yeah. And, if it doesn't, then what are we doing? Yeah. If our spiritual practice doesn't help us to think more deeply about our life and our values and our principles and so on, then, what use is it? Yeah. Unless you like, ringing bells and you like seeing bright brocade. Yes, oh, that's so pretty. And, you know, and then, oh, what else? Oh, I mean, because Tibetan Buddhism, yeah, it's really jazzy, isn't it? You have everything. Yeah, I mean, the Abbey doesn't have this, but because we're Ingis, we're the foreign transplant. But you go to a Tibetan monastery, lots of brocades, not just the little drums, the big drums, not just the little bells, big bells. Yeah, we're gonna get a big bell here. Ooh, yeah. But they have symbols. They have symbols that are round at the top and symbols that are flat, and then everybody wants to learn to do the deep chanting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Guys, can you do that? Oh, I I knew one woman who could get that low. Yeah. And then, I mean, Tibet, it's just so mystical and magical. And, if that's what you're interested in, then go for it. But you don't need religion for that. Yeah, you can become a fan of Taylor Slow. Yeah. So, okay, so that's a little bit about your meditation session. And applying what you learn in your practice to your life. Okay. And, if Buddhism doesn't mention something specifically, if you studied enough, you can bring in different points, you know, and understand. Like, I don't really know if there's a Buddhist word for anxiety or not. You know, I don't see that word much in the translation text. Uh, and the word fear comes up at times in places where we wouldn't expect it, you know. And so we're dealing with translations here and finding the right English word to describe, what we're learning in the Dharma. But then sometimes you have to find the right Pali or Sanskrit or Tibetan word. Yeah, I was at some of the Mind Life conferences, and we learned there is no real good Tibetan word that translates as emotions. Can you imagine that? Yeah, they don't have a word for emotions. But we talk a lot about them. And they talk a lot about them too, but they just don't have that word. Okay, so it's interesting. So, all of this also working cross culturally, it really makes us think deeply about, what the words really mean, not just, finding the right translation term, but what does it really mean? Like uh, how people mostly translate the Tibetan term Depa into faith. And what do we think when we hear faith? Is blind faith. Yeah. But that's a virtuous quality because it's one of the 11 virtuous qualities, faith. Blind faith is virtuous? No, they're not talking about blind faith when they translate that mental factor that way. Yeah. It's more like trust or confidence in someone or something. But the word faith is, the faith, when you have some confidence in somebody, you say, I have faith in them. Yeah. So, there are overlaps in these words, but you have to, again, uh, figure out what they really mean and then identify them in your own experience. Yeah. What are the virtuous mental factors? What are the non virtuous ones? Can you identify them in your experience? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to talk about some of them now. Yes, the 5 hindrances. I should read you a little bit of. There's some quotations in here about the 5 of them. So, like sensual desire, okay? So, we talked about that yesterday. Here's what Nagarjuna says about sensual desire. So he's using the word desire here, meaning that craving, clinging, attachment. Yeah. He's not using the word desire like I desire to practice the Dharma. That kind of desire, is something virtuous. But here he's talking about I want this, I want that, that kind of thing. So Nagarjuna says, desire is the net of the demons and an entangling web from which it is difficult to escape. True or not true? When you're under the influence of strong desire, are you caught in a net and it's difficult to get free? Your mind is just going back to that object of desire again and again and again. Yeah. Desire constitutes a burning heat which dries up all bliss. Desire, like drawing close to a fiery pit, is extremely fearsome. Yeah. Why is Nagarjuna talking like this? Yeah, to emphasize to us that desire, this kind of sensual desire, clinging attachment, is really dangerous, for our well-being now and for the karma we create that will ripen in future lives. Okay, desire is like cornering a venomous snake, like an enemy invader brandishing a knife, like swallowing molten copper, like a lion blocking one's path. All desires are just like this and are worthy of being feared. Desires cause people to undergo torment and suffering. It, at first, these words may sound shocking. Yeah, but remember times when your mind is just plagued by constant attachment, craving, wanting. Yeah, and think that yeah, my mind really is like that. Those people, here's more Nagarjuna, those people who are attached to desire, because desire is tricky. One part of it makes you feel good because you're attracted to something. So it's like, oh, I can look forward to getting that. Ooh, this is really nice. I feel tingling all over my body. So one part of attachment feels good. Yeah. And so sometimes it's hard to recognize it as an affliction. But if you're trying to develop concentration and your mind is just going round and around about what somebody or something that you're fixated on, yeah, then you have no freedom. Yeah. Those people who are attached to desire are like convicts in a prison, like a deer caught in a corral trap, like birds snared in a net, like fish who have swallowed a hook, like a crow in the midst of a band of owls. Desires are like blind people approaching an abyss. I'm never sure how to pronounce that word. Let's try this again. Desires are like blind people approaching an abyss, like a fly caught in hot oil, like a peaceful man caught up in military combat, like one who has entered a river of boiling brine, like one who licks a honey-smeared blade. That last one is a common analogy. Attachment is like licking honey on a razor blade. The honey's sweet, but what happens to you? So these kinds of passages can be very, very helpful for meditation, when you're doing analytic meditation on the faults of some of the afflictions. Okay, now here's some things, again, from a Nagarjuna text. Yeah. Okay, so it's talking about malice. Malice causes our actions to contradict Dharma advice. And as a result, we fall to unfortunate rebirths. And then Nagarjuna quotes Shakra, the king of the Devas, asking the Buddha. Okay, so here's what the king of the Devas asked the Buddha. What thing is it which, killed, brings peace and security? What thing is it which, slain, one has no regrets? Yeah, so this is the king of the gods. He's, he needs to know this because he's ruling a bunch of people. What king is it which is the root of venomousness, and which devours and destroys all forms of goodness? What thing is it which one slays and then one is praised? What thing is it which, slain, brings no more distress? Okay, so here's what the Buddha replies. If one kills anger, the mind will be peaceful and serene. It's the answer to the first question Socrates asked. If one slays anger, the mind will have no regrets. It is anger which is the root of venomousness. It is anger which destroys all forms of goodness. If one slays anger, all Buddhas offer praise. If one slays anger, one has no more distress. Yeah, but when we're angry, we want to destroy something externally, And here the Buddha's flipping it and saying, what do we need to destroy is our own anger, and talks about the benefits of destroying anger. Okay, now we're moving into lethargy and sleepiness. Okay, so those two are distinct mental factors. Lethargy is like drowsiness. It's like both your body and mind just don't feel like doing anything. Yeah, you got the picture. Yeah, both your body and your mind is just like, dragging. Yeah, you're dragging. Sleep is our sense consciousnesses are absorbed, and so we, don't have contact with the world. So it says from one perspective, lethargy and sleepiness are more problematic than other hindrances, in that the other hindrances can often be dispelled simply by recognizing them. You see there's attachment, you see there's anger, you got it. Okay. But, when the mind is totally clouded over and unaware when lethargy and sleepiness reign, then, just recognizing that doesn't dispel it. You just say, I'm nodding off in meditation. And then you do it again. Yeah. So just recognizing it. Okay. So here is what Nagarjuna says, that the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, how they admonish their indolent disciples by reminding us of the faults of samsara and urging us to wake up immediately and follow the path to liberation. Okay, so here's Nagarjuna. You get up. Don't lie there hugging that stinking corpse that is all sorts of impurities falsely designated as a person. Okay, if you think Nagarjuna is going to let you off that hook, forget it. He's very blunt. It says, if you've gotten a serious disease or been shot by an arrow, with such an accumulation of suffering and pain, how can you sleep? Okay, so he's really saying, recognize what being in samsara means. And when you really sit there and, what does it mean to get reborn again and again under the power of afflictions and karma without choice? We get reborn again and again and again. There's no freedom. So he's saying, just really think about, don't think about your petty little stuff going on today, but think about the bigger picture of being stuck in samsara. And, it's not a pretty picture. That's what he's saying. The entire world is burning up by the fire of death. You should be seeking means of escape. How then can you sleep? You're like a person in shackles being led to his execution. With disastrous harm so imminent, how can you sleep? With insurgent fetters not yet destroyed, and their harm not yet averted, it's as if you were sleeping in a room with a venomous snake, and as if you had met up with the soldiers' gleaming blades. At such a time, how can you sleep? Sleep is a vast darkness in which nothing is visible. Every day it deceives and steals away your clarity. When sleep blankets the mind, you are not aware of anything. With such great faults as these, how can you sleep? I don't think he's saying stay up all night. Yeah, that's not the answer. But what he's saying is, if if your body and mind are just lazy and you don't feel like doing anything and it takes too much energy to do something, you're dragging, it's not a pleasant state at all. And it's a dangerous state in the sense that, having a precious human life like we have is a very rare occurrence. It took a lot of accumulation of virtue in previous lives to have this opportunity. And we don't want to waste it. And then only when it's nearing its, end, when we're approaching death, do we want to have regret and say, I had that time and I didn't do anything useful with it. I just lounged around, lying on the beach, getting a suntan, sleeping on the couch in a lounge chair. Yeah. Then waking up and going to IHOP for breakfast. Then taking a nap. As Dharma protectors, our time is our most important possession, and we can lose physical things and get them back, but we can't get time back. Yeah, so if we waste it and lounge around, that's it. Okay, now the next one, restlessness and regret. Okay, so these two are separate mental factors, but they are talked about here together, combined as if they were one hindrance, because they have similar causes, similar functions, and similar antidotes. Yeah. But restlessness, is you're excited about something, you're going towards something, you're distracted, with going towards something. And regret is feeling guilty and down. This isn't the regret that you want to have when you do the four opponent powers to purify. That regret is just, I made a mistake, I regret it. This regret is, I'm so bad, the whole drama we talked about this morning. Okay, so both restlessness and regret they arise due to preconceptions about our relatives, friends, home, previous good times, and loving companions. Yeah, so you're distracted, by them. When you're distracted and, daydreaming and your mind's restless and, then that's restlessness. But when you think about, oh, I let those people down, they don't like me because of what I did, then that's the regret or remorse that comes. Okay, so restlessness is mental agitation that includes anxiety, fear, apprehension, excitement, and worry. It sounds great, doesn't it? Don't you want to really be in those mental states? Yeah, they make you feel so alive and important. Yeah, when we worry, you might say, well, but I'm worrying about somebody else. That's not self-centered. But who are you worried about? People that you're attached to. Uh, okay, you don't worry about the neighbor's kids. You worry about your kids. You don't worry about the neighbor's marriage, unless they're throwing things and waking you up at night. But you worry about, your own relationships. So it's, yeah. Okay. So regret, especially here, is an uncomfortable feeling that we did something that we shouldn't have done, or that we didn't do something that we should have done. Okay. So, yeah, we didn't do something, we did something we shouldn't have done. What did we do? We lied, we cheated. Yeah, just look at, any of the politicians. I mean, I like to, Bill Clinton in some way, talk about regret, restlessness and regret. Yeah. And look what it did to his presidency, restless, dreaming about, that, what was she? She was what? An intern, yeah. Restlessness, thinking about Monica, then they find out, then regret, yeah, but doesn't want to own up to it. Yeah, so it leads to lying, covering up, all those kinds of things. Okay, so regret can be that we've spent our time and energy on useless activities. Yeah, like when you binge watch sci-fi movies or what did they call it, rom-coms, or whatever it is that you binge watch, Trump rallies. Ugh. What's that going to do to your health? Putting that in your mind. Okay, so that's one thing that causes regret. We used our time and energy to do something quite useless. That's detrimental. Another cause of regret is we did something that was, clearly destructive karma, or we, said something that really antagonized other people or brought about a lot of discussion got everybody all involved in, why is so-and-so doing this? And then feeling remorse afterwards. Okay. So that's how regret or remorse, what it latches onto. Okay. So although regretting our wrong deeds is virtuous, yeah, regretting them, engaging in purification, that's virtuous. Yeah. But here, it's not the virtuous kind of regret. It's worry about, like I did something I'm not supposed to do, and I don't want anybody to find out, because if I do, they may make me accountable. That's going to be embarrassing in front of a group of people, or they're going to scold me and I don't want to be scolded, or they're going to punish me and deny me something I want. So there's a lot of regret, and fear involved, and when we did something we're not supposed to do, and then want to change the subject, lie, blame somebody else, anything rather than own it. Okay, so that's problematic because deep down we don't, our mind is not peaceful. We can explain to ourselves again and again how what I said, it was true, that person needed to hear it. I feel glad, I'm glad I spoke the truth. But inside you don't really feel good. Yeah. So, it's guilt, self-reproach, that kind of thing. So, that's a big distraction from Dharma, to our Dharma practice. Yeah. And then the other one of, okay, so that was doing something that you shouldn't do. Then you don't do something like you should do, that you should do. Okay, so there's a meeting at work and you don't like the meetings, so you make up a phony baloney excuse and call in, sick, or, my pet turtle crawled out of the tank. I can't come to work today, Yeah. Yeah. My pet pig chased my pet frog around the room. Yeah. So, we should do something, but we don't want to do it, and so we feel there's some kind of regret. I should have done that. This was part of my responsibility. This was, yeah, yeah, it was my responsibility, and I should have done that, and I just evaded, and I don't feel good about it. And neither do all the other people we live with or work with, because they were counting on us. And then so that we don't feel good about, well, I should have done that, but I lied and I covered up. And then plus all these people don't trust me so much now. And oh, I don't like that feeling of not being trusted. I want to be trusted. I am trustworthy. Sometimes. Yeah. But when I'm not trustworthy, I mean, they just need to understand that, I just, yeah, I mean well. Yeah, don't be mad at me. Yeah, I'm sorry. And I'll do it again. Yeah. Don't you love those apologies? Yeah. Um, okay, so that kind of regret it's not, it takes up a lot of time and it makes us really miserable because again we trap ourselves, we don't want to be honest with ourselves, and we don't want to be honest with others. And so we're always rationalizing, justifying, making excuses, when it's actually just much easier, to say, I chopped down the cherry tree. Yeah? Isn't that what he did? And what did people do after he acknowledged chopping down the cherry tree? You're American, aren't you? We all heard this story. Yeah. Is there anybody who didn't hear the story? Oh, really? Well, once upon a time, there was a president of the United States named George Washington. And when he was a child, yeah, he chopped down a cherry tree. I don't know who the cherry tree belonged to, but he chopped it down. And I don't know why he chopped it down. Yeah. And when he got caught for chopping down the cherry tree, even though, his parents were going to be really mad and the neighbors were going to be mad, and, he told the truth and he owned it, and he said, I chopped down the cherry tree. And as a result, he got elected as president. So this is the one thing that Trump's campaign doesn't understand. If he just said, I did it, yeah, then it'd be so much easier. Yeah. Yeah, isn't it? I mean, in any walk of life, if we own up to what we did, then, you make amends, then it's over. But when, you just sit there stewing in regret, stewing in restlessness, trying to think, I mean, I'm sure Bill Clinton at nighttime, when he wasn't dreaming about Monica, he, he was going round and around about what am I going to say? I have an interview with CNN tomorrow, and then I'm talking to Fox News, and then I'm talking to, what is it? One America, oh God. And then I'm talking to New York Times. And what am I going to say to all those people when they ask me, what am I going to say? I'm going to say, I did not have sex with that woman. And that's going to solve the whole problem. Right? Yeah. Some of us remember that, don't we? Yeah. And, it's just so much easier when we tell the truth. Yeah. So tell the truth, even you don't want to be the president. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, you can see how this kind of thing just makes us so restless, and filled with remorse. Okay. Yeah, so that was a lot about the regret. Then the remorse, I mean, yeah, regret and remorse. Then the restlessness is just, yeah, it goes hand in hand, because your restlessness is trying to figure out how you're going to explain all of this to somebody else, when you want their sympathy, but you don't want them to know what you actually did or what you actually thought. Yeah. So it's not really lying. It's just, it's not lying. Yeah. You keep telling yourself. Yeah. But then, what if it's not lying? Why do we not feel so good about it? Again, then we got to, mind is restless. Let's think of another thing. What I'm going to say, how I'm going to justify this. Okay. It's really, this is what makes you have lots of lethargy and sleep, because this kind of thing is exhausting, isn't it? Yeah, it's really exhausting. Okay, so we have a few minutes. I want to save something for tomorrow, like doubt. And I'll see if I get to it tomorrow. I may get to it, I may not get to it. Yeah, I may go off on some other tangent tomorrow morning. I don't know yet. We just have to see. Yeah. Yeah, maybe not. Because actually, I'm distracted by, I have some ideas for a book, but should I do this book or not? I send in another manuscript to this publisher. They haven't responded. Would I give them another book if they don't take this book? Yeah. Do they not like what I wrote? Actually, it's Geshe Dado's book. It's not the one I wrote. So, but I don't know. Should I do that? Should I write this book or that book? I want to do something about forgiving. Do I also include apologizing? Yeah. Which do you prefer, forgiving or apologizing? Now, I know that you prefer when other people forgive you, even though you haven't done anything wrong. And when they apologize for whatever they do, whether it was wrong or right, you like that. But what about your apologizing? If I write about that, will people throw the book in the garbage because it's hitting the buttons? Yeah. Okay. So doubt. But here, I'm talking about it anyway. Yeah, so I might as well continue. So, but doubt, especially when you're trying to meditate, it's like, oh, do I really understand the instructions for the meditation properly? Maybe I don't really understand them well, but did my teacher explain them well? I don't know. Sometimes, they go off on some tangent to something, you know, and maybe they didn't explain it well. So, what? Yeah, I mean, I don't want to follow the wrong instructions. So, do I ask a question? But if I ask a question, they're going to think I'm stupid. And I am, but, I don't want to look stupid. I'm not stupid. I just don't understand, and it's their fault because they didn't explain it well. And so that's why I can't, I came to this retreat and I don't need to go on and on, do I? I think, yeah. So, doubt, they say doubt is like a two-pointed needle. You ever tried sewing with a two-pointed needle? You can't, can you? Yeah. You stick both points into the fabric and you cannot pull the thread through. Okay. So doubt is really like a two-pointed needle. I want to do this, but I want to do that. Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should do a third thing or a fourth thing, or maybe I'm asking the wrong question, and the mind just again spinning. Yeah. So again, I mean, all these afflictions that interfere with our concentration, they interfere with our life. Yeah, and when they're manifest, we're not in a happy state. Mm. So, doubt can be tricky too, because sometimes it's something important and I can't make up my mind about what to do because this seems good and that seems good. But if I do this, then I can't do that. But if I do that, I can't do this. Actually, what I'd like to do is do this, come back to where I am now, then do that, then come back to where I am, and then decide which one I want to do because I've tried each one out. Yeah. What happens to your life? You know, you do 5 years of this, then and the whole time you're doing that, you think you should be doing something else. So and then you do the other one, and you're thinking, actually, it's better when I did this. And, again, just mind spinning, So, the antidote to that is learn. Learn. And, if you really can't make a decision, pretend you're a turkey right before Thanksgiving and you're sitting on a fence. Yeah. So they're coming for you. It's right before Thanksgiving. Yeah. And your chances of getting, what do? They pardon the turkeys. Yeah, the US presidents pardon the turkeys, even though they haven't done anything wrong. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? So, you know, I think the big thing is where we get stuck in this doubt is we're so afraid of missing something. So we want to do everything so we don't miss something. And in the process of not being able to make a decision, we miss both alternatives. Okay. And the thing, what we're afraid of is if I choose this, what happens if it doesn't turn out so well? Then I'm going to be racked with regret because I didn't do that. Actually, my philosophy is you make your decision, you do this. It doesn't turn out very well. You learn something from it. If you learn something from it, then it was a useful experience, because you grew up and you understand life and, you learn from your mistake. So, getting stuck in doubt is just really painful. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then we don't do anything. Yeah. I want to make an offering. Should I give my nickel to this charity? Should I give my nickel to that charity? Should I give maybe a dime instead of a nickel? Yeah. And we just go round and around. Have you noticed with all these things how I'm always saying it comes in the mind and then you go round and around? And this is what happens. So, yeah, wait a minute. I want to read. Here is, again, from Nagarjuna about, okay, here's Nagarjuna about guilt. Let's go back to that one. He says, if you feel regret for an offense, having regretted it, put it down and let it go. You regretted, you made amends, stop going around in circles. In this way, the mind abides peaceful and happy. Do not constantly remain attached to it in your thoughts. If you possess the two kinds of regret, of not having done what you should have done, or having done what you should not have done, because this regret attaches to the mind, it is the mark of a foolish person. It is not the case that on account of feeling guilty, you will somehow be able to do what you failed to do. All of the ill deeds that you have already committed cannot be caused to become undone. Okay. Then here's about doubt, again from Nagarjuna. Just as when a person stands at a fork in the road and is so confused by doubt that he goes nowhere at all, when you seek realization of the true nature of phenomena, doubt acts in just the same way. Yeah. Because you remain doubtful, you don't diligently seek to realize the true nature of phenomena. This doubt comes forth from confusion. Among all the detrimental mental factors, it is the worst because you can't move. Yeah. Although you may possess doubts while abiding in the world, you should still accord with the sublime and virtuous Dharma. Just as when you contemplate a fork in the road, you should follow the path which is most beneficial. Yeah. So think about what's most beneficial. Yeah. People often ask me how I make decisions, so I'll tell you that secret. Yeah. I think which of the alternatives will be a better environment for me keeping my precepts well, because I don't want to go in a situation where it's going to be very difficult to not keep my precepts. Yeah, so that's the first criteria. And then which uh, of the choices will be beneficial to other people, yeah, and beneficial to myself, and which of the choices will help me generate bodhicitta, or enhance, deepen experiences of love, compassion, and bodhicitta for others. And so, based on how the different choices rate in my mind about those three, then I'll usually pick one or the other. Yeah. So my choice isn't based on how will I get the most pleasure, how will I be the most famous, how will I get everything I want. You know, that's what usually, what worldly people, how we make choices. Yeah. But this is proposing a Buddhist way to do it. Okay. So we're going to stop here. And one or two questions?
Just a comment, Venerable, that this whole idea about not being able to make a decision is that I know for myself that I had to work through a very fundamental fear of getting it wrong and making the wrong decision and then making mistakes. And that anytime I made a decision and it was hard, I used to think that that meant I made the wrong decision.
Mm.
And then as time went on and learning the Dharma, realizing that some of the best growth I've ever had was making a decision, having a lot of obstacles, and coming out the back end being just a lot stronger. But the fear of getting it wrong and having to deal with hardship, a real fear of hardship itself, just being kind of, and then maybe just because a lot of old patterns of thinking were this whole thing about bad person, bad child, bad whatever. But boy, the Dharma has helped me to trust that my biggest growth is usually in the times when it's not easy. And so that has really been a strengthening for me.
Yeah.
And I don't have a lot of doubt anymore as much as I used to about my capacity, because that's really grown.
Yeah, good.
In the meditation session, when we're setting up the visualization before we focus, so we spend some time going over the details and then at one time then focus. When do we know when to re-go over the details, or just to stick with the blob or whatever we have? Like how often do we go over the details again?
Well, you could do it after 1 minute and 400 seconds, or you can do it, maybe wait a few days. Yeah. And, make sure you have a timer so you can set your timer to the right time to go over it, because there's no way you can tell from your own experience by observing your mind and how well you're concentrated. Yeah. You're welcome. Okay. More questions? She's used to it. Yeah.
So we were talking about like restlessness and like you said the bonkers brain, right? I have a very fast-paced, high-stress job, and on top of it, unmanaged ADHD. So on a good day, calming my mind is like herding feral cats, right? So in the midst of that, when I don't have the time to sit down and focus and breathe and meditate, like in the middle of my work day, do you have any suggestions for like, because I feel like I'm reverberating on the inside sometimes, and like just a little bit of calm.
Yeah.
Just for a moment.
I think what's helpful is take something that happens frequently during your day, and just whenever that happens, for a moment, come back to your breath and come back to your motivation. Doesn't take long, and then re-engage. Yeah. And if the only place you can do that is in the bathroom, go to the bathroom. I don't know how. What? Yeah. Okay.
Just a clarification. I think earlier today, you said that the root of the word mindfulness has, in Tibetan, is the same as remember?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So in this process of concentration, we're just
they're the mindful.
Over and over in a way.
Yeah, because the mindfulness is remembering your object of meditation so that you can focus on it. Yeah. It doesn't mean you need to sit there and go, I remember, remember. But, you just put your concentration somewhere and keep it there. That's mindfulness combined with attention.